On an unusually warm Birmingham evening, the fading light revealed a mosaic of cracked sidewalks and elongated shadows dancing across worn pavement. Three teenagers, Malik, Jalen, and DeAndre, were making their familiar trek home from Jackson Heights High School. Their backpacks bounced against their spines, still damp from an intense basketball practice, as their laughter and lively banter wove through the soft hum of the awakening night. Jalen's clever jabs, Malik's animated recounting of a game-winning moment, and DeAndre's quiet grumbles over a missed shot mingled with the cool air, hinting at both youthful exuberance and the unspoken weight of everyday challenges. But as they rounded a corner near Highway 280, fate steered them toward an unexpected detour. A sleek, obsidian luxury sedan, its aura as enigmatic as a midnight mirage, had pulled over, its hazard lights pulsing like a troubled heartbeat. Parked on the side of the road, the car's polished contours caught the scant glow of street lamps, evoking images more at home in high-budget music videos than on these humble streets. Beside the vehicle, an older gentleman in a tailored navy suit and crisp white shirt wrestled with a heavy jack. His golden cufflinks sparkled briefly in the intermittent light, yet his face was marred by frustration as his polished shoes betrayed his faltering grip on the slippery asphalt. Jalen's voice cut through the quiet. "Man, that ride's worth a fortune," he quipped, his tone laced with disbelief. DeAndre chuckled, adding, "Bet he never needed to change a tire in his life." But before the teasing could escalate, Malik's gentle insistence broke through. "Hey, shouldn't we help? Imagine if it were someone you cared about." The question hung in the air, charged with empathy and duty. Without a moment's hesitation, the trio crossed the dusky street, their steps echoing softly against the worn concrete. Drawing nearer, Malik addressed the flustered man with genuine concern. "Sir, can we give you a hand?" The driver's sharp gray-blue eyes flitted between the three, uncertainty battling with a flicker of relief. With a slow, measured exhale, he stepped aside, as if granting a silent blessing. Jalen's grin widened in reassurance. "We got you, man," while Malik knelt beside the vehicle, carefully adjusting the jack's position. His low murmurs of instruction melded with the clinking of metal and the soft scrape of DeAndre's deft fingers loosening the stubborn lug nuts. In what felt like the span of a few heartbeats, the flat tire was unhooked and replaced by a spare. Jalen's final twist of the bolt punctuated their brief symphony of teamwork. The older man's lips trembled into a half-smile of disbelief as he fumbled into his pocket and produced a thick wad of crisp $100 bills. "For your trouble," he offered, extending the money as if it were a token of gratitude. Malik, glancing briefly at the stack, shook his head firmly. "We only help when it's needed," he replied, his tone resolute. The man's eyes widened ever so slightly, an almost imperceptible moment of self-reflection passing over his features, and with a quiet sigh, he returned the money to his pocket. Without another word, he slipped into his sleek car and melted away into the night, leaving the boys with more questions than answers. As they resumed their walk, the echo of that encounter lingered like a secret, inviting them to wonder what unseen forces had just been set in motion. The next morning, the hallways of Jackson Heights High buzzed with the familiar chaos of student life. The squeak of sneakers on linoleum, the mingling sense of overcooked eggs and syrup-drenched pancakes from the cafeteria, and a stream of whispered excitement filled every corner. In their usual alcove near the lockers, Malik, Jalen, and DeAndre exchanged light-hearted jabs about last night's escapade, Jalen animatedly recalling a clumsy crossover move gone awry, when suddenly the school's PA system crackled to life with an unexpected summons. "Malik, Jalen, DeAndre, please report to the principal's office immediately." In an instant, the surrounding chatter fell to a hush, replaced by the heavy thud of anxious footsteps. Their hearts pounded in unison as they traded uneasy glances. What could warrant such urgency? Had their act of kindness spiraled into something far beyond a mere roadside mishap? Inside the austere confines of the principal's office, the atmosphere felt thick with unspoken gravity. Principal Whitmore, known for his no-nonsense demeanor, sat behind a massive desk, his eyes stern yet curious. But what truly caught the boys' attention was the unexpected visitor seated across from him, the same man from the previous night. Now, his disheveled frustration had given way to an air of refined command. His suit was sharper, his posture relaxed yet undeniably authoritative. "Please, have a seat," he said smoothly, his voice carrying a deliberate calm. For a moment, silence reigned as the boys hesitated, the memory of blinking hazard lights and a stranded luxury car flickering behind their eyes. Finally, Malik broke the silence with a quiet, "We remember you." A subtle smile tugged at the corners of the man's mouth as he observed them. "I suppose you do," he began, his tone both reflective and measured. Last night, when your help was needed, you chose action over indifference, and you even turned down my gesture of thanks. His eyes, deep and assessing, swept over their youthful faces. With an almost ritualistic motion, he produced a sleek, ebony business card adorned with gold-embossed lettering. I built my enterprise from scratch, he continued, investing not just in ventures, but in a rare spirit of integrity. I see potential in those who act with purpose. I'm not offering you a mere job, you have an opportunity to prove you can handle real pressure. Are you prepared to take this test? Jalen's voice trembled with incredulity as he replied, a test? But we're just high school kids. DeAndre's eyes shifted nervously, echoing his skepticism. This isn't a class project, it sounds more like a gamble. Yet Malik's gaze hardened with quiet resolve. Maybe it's not about money, it's about who we choose to be when faced with a challenge. The man's subtle nod confirmed that he understood. Meet me after school, he instructed, sliding the card across the desk. There will be more details. I want you to prove that your decision-making under pressure isn't swayed by mere opportunity. His words fell like heavy stones, and as the meeting drew to a close, the boys left the office with hearts pounding and minds racing. Had destiny just nudged them onto a path that would change everything? After the final bell, the city's dusk gave way to a quiet urgency as they navigated toward the address printed on the enigmatic card. Their destination was an unassuming downtown office building, one that didn't boast flashy signs but exuded a stoic sense of purpose, as if every brick held a secret of power. The lobby was quiet, its marble floors echoing the soft tap of their sneakers, while a minimally attentive receptionist nodded in their direction and pointed toward an elevator equipped with nothing more than a single card reader. With a soft beep, the doors slid open, and the ride began, a silent ascent that felt almost surreal, as if transporting them into another realm. When the elevator doors parted, they stepped into a vast conference room that could have been the boardroom of a modern empire. A long, gleaming glass table, a ring of sumptuous leather chairs, and floor-to-ceiling windows that framed the glittering cityscape created an atmosphere of quiet authority. At the far end of the table sat the man they'd encountered the night before, now unmistakably identified as Mr. Whitaker, flanked by two impeccably dressed men and a woman whose poised demeanor spoke volumes without uttering a single word. With a subtle gesture, Whitaker motioned for them to take their seats. As they settled into the chairs, Whitaker leaned back and fixed them with an intense, thoughtful gaze. Have you ever heard the saying, pressure makes diamonds? He asked softly. The boys nodded, the phrase resonating in the charged air. I believe that true character isn't forged in comfort, he continued, but in the crucible of difficult choices. Last night, you had a simple yet profound decision, to help when others might have walked on by. That decision speaks to your integrity. Slowly, he reached into his coat and produced another business card, this one heavier, embossed with a private number. Sliding it across the table, he said, this isn't a mere employment offer. It's an invitation to test your resolve under real pressure. I want to see if your judgment holds when the stakes are higher. A folder lay on the table, containing a single sheet of paper with sparse instructions, a name, Elliot Grayson, a mysterious address, and a meeting time set for 7:30 p.m. The simplicity of the message belied its potential complexity. Jalen's voice broke the tense silence. Wait, are we supposed to just deliver something without knowing what's inside? Whitaker's eyes sparkled with quiet amusement. Exactly. Sometimes, the real test is whether you follow orders blindly or choose to think for yourselves. Remember, opportunity should never override integrity. The weight of his words pressed upon them as they exchanged uncertain glances. Was this an invitation to a hidden world of power, or a trap designed to test their very souls? In the aftermath of that meeting, as twilight deepened into night, the boys found themselves standing on a quiet street corner, hearts thumping in unison. The decision lay before them like a fork in an uncharted road. Are we really going to run errands for a stranger? Jalen whispered, skepticism lacing his tone. DeAndre's brow furrowed. What if this is all a setup, a test of our judgment? Malik's gaze turned inward, weighing the thrill of potential opportunity against the nagging voice of caution. If this is truly a test, he finally said, then it's not about following orders without thought, it's about knowing when to say no. The tension was palpable as they agreed on one principle: if anything seemed off, they would walk away without looking back. At precisely 7:29 p.m., the address led them to a modest, time-worn corner store in a part of town that wore its struggles like faded wallpaper. The sign, nearly legible as Grayson's Market, albeit missing a letter, hung askew, as though surrendering to the wear of time. Outside, the pavement was uneven and worn, and the distant echo of children playing a broken game of basketball punctuated the stillness. A man clad in a weathered hoodie leaned casually against the storefront, a cigarette burning slowly between his fingers, his eyes flickering with guarded curiosity as the teens approached. The scene was reminiscent of a noir thriller, where every shadow might conceal a secret. Inside the cramped store, the lighting was dim and the air smelled of old paper and dust. Shelves, half filled with items that had long lost their luster, lined the walls, and an ancient cash register clattered softly in the background. Behind the counter stood a man identified by a faded name tag, Elliot, whose tired eyes and lined face told tales of hard-fought battles. As soon as he noticed the trio, his gaze narrowed, and he spoke in a low, gravelly tone, "You must be Mr. Whitaker's boys." DeAndre's heart skipped a beat. Without a word, Elliot reached beneath the counter and produced a small box, its tape holding it together as though guarding a precious secret. Placing it on the counter with deliberate care, he intoned, "Take this box to the address printed on it. Do not open it, curiosity here is dangerous." Malik lifted the box gingerly, noting its deceptive lightness and the firm weight that hinted at something far more substantial than mere packaging. When DeAndre dared to ask, "What's inside?" Elliot's eyes hardened. "You didn't ask me that before coming here," he warned, his voice dropping to an almost conspiratorial whisper. "If you have any doubts, leave now. Walk away and don't look back." The silence that followed was thick with unspoken warnings, leaving the boys caught in a moment of charged indecision. Stepping back into the cool night air, the weight of the box seemed to grow heavier under the flickering streetlights. Jalen murmured, "This feels like a setup from a mob movie, man." DeAndre's tone was laced with concern. "What if it's something illegal? What if this test leads to something dangerous?" Malik closed his eyes for a beat, the internal battle evident before he spoke with finality, "No, we're not taking it." With deliberate resolve, he set the box gently on the curb. As they began to walk away, the distant hum of the city seemed to pulse with anticipation. Was this the end of an opportunity, or the beginning of a deeper test of character? Barely had their footsteps merged with the night when the low purr of a sleek, black car interrupted their retreat. This vehicle, different from the luxury sedan of earlier, exuded a quiet menace with its tinted windows and unyielding presence. Jalen instinctively stepped back, muttering, "I'm not signing up for a kidnapping scene." The back door of the car swung open with deliberate slowness, and out stepped Mr. Whitaker once more, his tailored charcoal suit impeccable, his expression stripped of any mirth, replaced instead by a solemn seriousness that sent a chill down their spines. His gaze fell on the abandoned box sitting on the curb. "Your choice speaks louder than any action," he stated, his tone even and measured. DeAndre crossed his arms, his skepticism barely contained. "So you think refusing to deliver a box means we passed some kind of test?" Whitaker allowed a slight smile to play at the corner of his lips as he explained, "In a world where most people obey without a second thought, your decision to question, and ultimately to say no, reveals a rare strength. Integrity isn't about chasing money blindly, it's about standing firm when pressure mounts." He paused, his eyes glinting with a mix of admiration and challenge. "I abide by what I call the 1% mindset. Only 1 in 100 will dare to think independently and question the norm. I don't invest in followers, I invest in pioneers." Slowly, he reached into his coat and withdrew another business card, heavier and embossed with a private number. Extending it toward Malik, he said, "When you're ready to learn what true power feels like, call me." Without another word, Whitaker stepped back into the car, and with a soft hum, it melted into the night, leaving behind a silence that felt both ominous and full of promise. Under the buzzing glow of streetlights, Malik, Jalen, and DeAndre stood frozen, absorbing the magnitude of what had just unfolded. Their decision, to trust their instincts over blind obedience, had inadvertently set them on a path that went far beyond a simple roadside encounter. In that quiet, charged moment, the true meaning of power began to reveal itself. It wasn't about wealth or flashy opportunities, but about the courage to choose what was right, even when the cost was uncertain. As the night deepened and their minds churned with the implications of their actions, a final question echoed in the cool air. If you were given the chance to change your life at a single, defining moment, would you dare to say yes, or have the strength to say no? We invite you to share your thoughts on this test of integrity and choice. And if tales of daring decisions and the relentless pursuit of true power resonate with you, subscribe for more stories where every challenge is a chance to redefine destiny.